Welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the deferred sales trust is an amazing way for you to exit highly appreciated businesses, real estate, cryptocurrency, so you can create and preserve more wealth by deferring hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in capital gains tax. For those who know me, my name is Brett Swartz, and I'm founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas and deal stories. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on expert CRE seekers as well. We're bringing on some of the best commercial real estate experts in the world. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of Texas, originally from San Diego, and he's all into real estate investing. One unit to 112 unit properties, residential, multifamily, self-storage, and he does about 20 million a year in volume. And he sources direct to seller distressed properties, recapitalizes, and either holds them in the portfolio or he sells them. He also teaches people the business of showing them how to leverage their time and build their businesses through optimizing their real estate or their exit strategies and strengthening their operational structure and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, TJ Kosin. TJ, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Brett, thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
Excellent. For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, fantastic. Our main business right now is we're in the North Texas area, and we focus mostly on distressed residential. So we kind of consider ourselves a marketing company. We're really good at getting off-market deals. And then we basically the way we capitalize the best on those is we kind of figure out an exit strategy while we're acquiring it. So that helps us like offer the sellers a better offering on the front end and really kind of maximize what we're able to make on the back end on the property. So that's what we're doing now. Like you mentioned, been kind of around the block, right? My first deal was 112 apartment units way back in the day before the crash. That was exciting. I've done some self-storage. We bump into commercial once in a while, and when we do, we're not afraid to do something with it as long as we get it for the right price. But right now, we're doing just a pretty good volume of the single-family distressed thing.
Excellent, TJ. And before we dive into the topic at hand, which we're talking about the ultimate guide to real estate wholetailing, we're going to. I want to take one other step back. I believe you all have been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given us to be a blessing and help to others. I'm curious, what are those one or two strengths or gifts you believe you were given, and how does that help? How you help and bless people today?
I like that. So you start off in business, right? I think you start off in business for usually like a money focus, so some kind of money motivation. You want to retire your family, you want to do something well for yourself, and that's good and to a certain extent. But once you hit kind of a barrier, you start to realize that the more you invest in people and the more you invest in building other people on the team up and allowing them to kind of reach their potential, the more fulfilling you actually are yourself in your own life. So I'm hoping, I don't know if that's like a superpower gift, but I'm hoping that's where we are in our business right now, where we really enjoyed that aspect of it a lot more than just making the extra buck or the extra, the extra transactional revenue. That's becomes at a certain point a little less fulfilling than helping people build up themselves to where they want to be.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's great. So it sounds like you have a talent or a gift with leading and helping people achieve their next potential or their greatest potential. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. I think a lot of people get into it thinking they can just plug a person in and somehow the person is going to make more money, and it doesn't really work like that. What really works is investing in the people, investing their time, investing their skill set, and then kind of getting out of the way and letting them like do their thing in the in the structure that you have in the job, obviously.
Excellent. Hey, I love that. I'll keep that in mind as we dive into the first part of the conversation, which is the number one secret to the ultimate guide in real estate wholetailing. First of all, clarify what wholetailing is, because some people might get confused with wholesaling and or I'm not sure what it is. I know I wasn't sure until we start talking before the conversation. So, what is that, and then what's the number one secret to being successful in that field?
Yeah, so everyone knows it's kind of a complicated structure, right? Everyone knows wholesaling, relatively easy. Whatever market you're in is, you buy something for 75% minus repairs, minus whatever, and that's what you're able to make when you wholesale it to someone else. Maybe your market's 80% at the peak of the market, maybe a year ago, you're even at 82% minus repairs, something like that. And then flipping, I think is pretty easy. That's where you put something on the retail end market, kind of shooting for the top of the market. And we have 6 flips going right now, so we still do quite a big volume of those. But for like cash conversion cycle, for turnover ratio, for unknown unknowns where you bump into stuff that you just don't know what you're going to be bumping into, it tends to be a fairly risky exit strategy for us. And it's difficult to have a secondary exit strategy from an entire flip. So we like doing something right in the middle, which is wholetailing, which is kind of like it's similar to novations, really, which is also kind of big in the marketplace. We do a handful of those. But wholetailing is a combination of wholesale and retail, kind of right in the middle. So we'll close on the property and then we'll fix up the property to hit a specific price point. So not necessarily a full blown out flip where we're trying to just, compete with everything that's at the top of the market, but we're kind of scaling back from that and scale back ideally like pretty far. The keys to success, well, we can go into like how to make that successful, but that's like the nutshell of how you do it is close on it. So you have the transactional risk, but now you have control of the property as opposed to wholesaling. There's a lot of issues with it becomes more difficult to maximize your profit if you can't close on the deal. And then we try to decrease our actual like product based risk by not doing massive blown out renovations on the property, but really trying to identify like a price point where this property, if we do like these repairs, we'll hit this price point on the back end. And it's a good strategy for the right property and for the right buyer profile.
Okay, so I think I'm getting it. It's basically not just putting every investment into a box, and it's looking at it. You kind of mentioned in a little bit of the intro, like what's the highest and best. No, not just the highest and best use for the profit, but what's the highest and best use as far as its efficiency, right? So that doesn't mean we're gonna do a full-on renovation on every single thing. It's more like, okay, given where we're at, how quickly can we turn this property? You mentioned the cash conversion cycle, so perhaps that's that ratio, right? So understanding, how much to put into each deal and the time it's going to take, and maximizing the profit. Is that a fair summary, TJ?
Yeah, and obviously that's always a moving target. There's always a lot of kind of subjectivity to it, but it definitely summarizes it in a perfect world for sure.
Excellent. So, what's the number two secret to, or I guess now the number one secret to making that happen? Since we just kind of defined what it is, um, what besides, I guess maybe volume and just doing the sheer numbers that you guys are doing, what would be the number one secret to making this thing really work?
Yeah, 2 years ago I would have said this is definitely the secret for wholetailing. I think it might even be in this market the secret to actually like maximizing your money in any kind of deal flow is identify at any point of the deal process, at any point of whatever the deal is, identify the target buyer avatar for the property based on the submarket, based on the condition of the property, based on the condition that I can get to the property to with minimal effort, and then identify what is the likely buyer that's going to buy that property. And again, for wholetailing, that makes a lot of sense. And we can break it down. We've kind of identified probably 4 to 4.5 different buyer avatars for the wholetail model. And then we can extrapolate actually and apply that to other like exit strategies as well. Exit strategies like flipping, exit strategies like novations, exit strategies like we do a ton of seller finance where we are the bank. I think we've done 35 or more deals this year where we've actually sold a property where we become the lender. But the best way to do that is by understanding the submarket and the buyer avatar that's likely to buy the subject property on once it's on the open market or on the well even closed market. We don't put everything on the open like MLS market.
Okay, so number one thing is understanding the avatar, who's gonna be the likely buyer, and really drilling that in. What's the number two secret to real estate wholetailing?
Oh, well, buy right. I mean, buy right, right? Everyone that gets started in business, um, they always think they want to do more deals because they figure out one marketing avenue, right? They figure out cold calling, they figure out direct mail, they figure out, bandit signs. We actually did a bandit sign deal last week. I didn't even know we did it until it was done. I mean, I didn't know the lead flow, like where we got the deal from. I knew about the deal. Everyone thinks they want to do a higher volume of deals. That's fine. Like I think we all do, right? I guess I do. We have a lot, so I'm not really sure I want to do a higher volume. But you buy better, and you sell better. So I like to tell people there's really three ways to make more money in business. Everyone focuses on the volume aspect of it. So make higher velocity, higher volume of deals. Now velocity is good, but volume, as you start putting extra pieces in place, tends to cut into the margin because now you have employees, now you have overhead, now you have additional marketing expense. Now you're maybe not as efficient with the marketing expense that you're spending as you were. And that's actually, I think, probably the last thing that you should really try doing is doing a higher volume of deals. First, try doing a better quality of deal. And you do that by two different ways. You either decrease your expenses or you increase your end sales price. So you decrease your expenses by simply buying better, having better conversations with better qualified sellers, and just like having a differentiation between you and your competition in the marketplace. We very often, and it's not a brag because it happened 4 times in the past month and a half, we've beat our competition in negotiations by $40,000 to $50,000 lower than the competition in the past 8 weeks. We know this because we've seen our competitors' contracts, and now we'll have a discussion about our competitors' contracts. And we've had the relationship building with the seller where they're more comfortable, more confident going with us. No, not me. I'm not the pretty face of the company. Well, actually, technically, I am. I'm on the website, but our acquisition team. So that goes back to empowering people to actually work for you. Is I'm not talking to sellers. I haven't talked to a seller in a year and a half, but we have the team that's able to do that and able to build these relationships with these people. So that allows us to buy better. And then how do we sell better? Well, now we understand the buyer avatar for the property that we're trying to sell, or the likely buyer avatar. Obviously, anyone can buy it. We don't have a problem with that. But who's the likely buyer for this? Is it going to be another investor, another flipper? Is it going to be someone who's a owner finance buyer? Is it going to be a homeowner that wants some equity because the house is dated, but they can put some sweat equity in and make the house livable and very nice as it is? Who's going to be the buyer that's likely to have this property? So that allows us to do all three. Now the volume piece was actually the third thing that we added to the equation. The first thing we added was probably selling better, so that's where wholetailing comes in. And the second thing we added was buying better. Um, and then the third part of our equation was higher volume. So I like doing things backwards because you see a lot of the competition in the marketplace, and sometimes you scratch your head going, I don't really understand why they're focusing on that when there's an easier path over here that maybe we can focus on this and optimize something better on from a different angle or a different perspective.
Yeah, it feels like you guys are building from the ground up the right way, right? Better conversations, better negotiations, just overall better deals, right? Focusing on the right buyer, the right avatar, probably the right seller as well. And as you built that up and that reputation, and then the skill sets with your acquisitions team, then you can increase the volume once you've built that solid foundation. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and I think too many people kind of do it backwards.
Excellent. So maybe talk about building up that team, right? That acquisitions team, and making it a win-win for both parties, right? What have you found to be the best way to be an attractive employer? Are they straight commission? Is it a little bit of
Mhm.
both? How do you incentivize and make it worthwhile for new hires?
So we do it again. Well, first of all, we build it from our first from our dislike and then from our necessity. So if there's something that you don't like doing in the business, the idea is that what everyone says, well, no one can do anything as well as I can, like 100% of the time. They'll do it 70%, 80% of my capacity, whatever that is, whatever that like kind of fake math in the industry is. And I don't think that's true because I think that if you hire the right people and if you don't like doing something, you can maybe do something at 100% of your capacity really, really well. But if you don't like doing it, if you don't like answering the phone and talking to sellers, even if you're really good at it, you're not going to do it 100% of the time. It's not going to be something that you enjoy doing. Maybe you enjoy dropping off paint buckets at a flip. Maybe you enjoy negotiating with buyers when you're reselling something. So if you don't like doing it, then you have to hire, I think, from a point of, I don't like doing that first. And then you figure out, well, how am I going to empower that person to do the right thing for themselves in terms of maximizing their income. And then there's kind of industry standards, obviously, for like commission structures and that kind of stuff. But really, I think the most important part of hiring a team is making sure that you have the capacity to make sure that they eat, because too many people want to hire a team and think that the team is somehow going to be a revenue generating activity for them. And that's not the case in real estate. That's the case in a construction company like roofing. In Dallas, we have a construction company, and our main lead gen strategy is hiring more acquisitions guys to do the acquisitions of the end client. But it's not the case in real estate, because in real estate, mostly it's external leads from some source, whatever it is, cold calling, PPC, mailers, even bandit signs, whatever it is. That's the lead. That's the revenue generating activity, and then you capture that revenue is by training people and having them do their job well. So you have to fill the funnel first in order to hire someone, and you have to make sure that the person that you hire is capable of actually performing to a level. Honestly, I think our team performs way better than I do when they're on appointments because they enjoy building relationships, they enjoy talking to the sellers, and they have really one binary task. At a certain stage of growth, you can have a multiple like disciplinary team where teams can do multiple things, and that's very useful in the growth phase. But as you hit more of a kind of stabilization and then increasing the volume stage, you really have to have people that are really, really good at one or two things. And so you have an acquisitions guy that's dedicated 100% of his job is buying stuff. You have a dispo, side, and 100% of their job is selling stuff. And maybe they can do some property management or something too, because there's some, transitional skills that are similar. But now you have to make sure that, okay, if they do that job 100% of the time, are they able to eat? Are they able to sustain their themselves. And a lot of people, again, if you think that an acquisitions guy is going to make you more money, you're absolutely wrong. Better leads and better training is going to make you more money. And then you put someone in the position and it's able to maximize on those two, uh, like things that your company has.
Wow, yeah, tons of wisdom there, TJ. Couple nuggets there. You said one binary task, and I like how you specialize in acquisitions or dispositions, and that's all they're doing every day is just trying to acquire or dispose. They're not
Hmm.
mixing those two.
No.
I wonder, in the context, and by the way, you can learn more about TJ Cozen by going to reiaf.com. That's reiaf.com. I wonder, TJ, if setter versus closer, right? So how you apply
Mhm.
that model, or moving to the, maybe longer sales cycles. Yours maybe tend to be, I don't know what your average sales cycle is for your deals that you're doing. But I'm curious if someone has a longer sales cycle and, you just need, even more leads, setters, and some of the deals take longer to actually come to fruition. How might you change the strategy for a setter versus a closer and such?
So I think I definitely understand what you're talking about. I think that depends a lot on the lead type and the urgency of the lead. So not all leads are created equal, and not all leads, you can have a high urgency lead with a low urgency average lead flow type. What I mean by that is if you have a PPC lead or a direct mail lead, it's inbound and there's a relative sense of urgency with that lead. And that takes a somewhat different skill than a long-term follow-up with like an outbound cold call type lead or a more of a nurture type of lead. So it's not necessarily so much. I don't know if it's so much the setters versus the closers. The way we approach that is one is a really fancy CRM that costs a lot of money, and I don't know how to use it. I've never logged on to it, but that tells us what's going on with the leads at multiple stages in the sales cycle. And I have a guy that manages that instead of me because that's not my core competency. Um, and then one thing that we do is we really take the lead based on the face value of the lead. So a lot of people in the industry want to disqualify the lead because they're burning through a high volume of low quality leads. We prefer a lower volume of relatively high quality of leads, and then taking it more from a lead standpoint. So the way we'll buy better is we'll play good cop bad cop in some respects. We'll send two acquisitions guys out on an appointment where one is able to talk about the kids and the pet dog and the cat, and the other one is more able to talk about the numbers of the renovation and the transactional aspect of it. Our average talk time, for example, on a relatively high quality lead, on an inbound lead for a first contact, is probably 30 minutes. I'm not sure exactly what it is because some calls go to cell phones and whatever, but a lot of people they try to disqualify the lead, they try to get off the phone and onto the next lead as quickly as they can. We're more about, well, let's figure out what's the urgency of this lead, what's necessary to optimize on this lead, and then how do we have the conversation with the seller and set the expectation with the seller, either short term or long term. Some of those leads too. I will call you back in 2 months when you're maybe a little bit more ready. So you call them back in 1 month because you want to kind of be forefront when they're ready to make the decision. So I think it really depends a lot more on the lead type. The more notes you have in the leads, like on the specific lead, the more you're able to optimize what's going on. And the way we do that is by just keeping a pretty tight rein on not from a managerial like dictatorial standpoint, but more just a tight eye on, okay, what's going on with this specific lead. Let's have a conversation about this one. And kind of the same as we rank our like buyer criteria when we're selling retail. We rank our leads similarly, where we get a sense of the urgency and then rank the urgency of the lead, and we approach it somewhat differently from that perspective. That was long-winded. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was really good, TJ. By the way, first of all, what's the name of the CRM that you use?
Shoot, we use a Salesforce based one. I don't remember what the I don't remember. All I know is it was 7 grand a year ago, and I thought it was a real pain in the butt. And now now we've already paid that, and now it's just a couple $100 a month. But it's good. We don't like Podio. We were on that before with Beast Mode. Buddy of mine owns the Beast Mode add-on to Podio. I like it, but it's very clunky. Salesforce, it's a beast in itself, but it's very dynamic and like versatile in the marketplace. So the guys like it. Again, I legitimately do not know my login to it because I never logged into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So it's like a Salesforce thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned getting a sense for the urgency. So I guess what's the number one question to get a sense of how urgent a lead is?
So on the inbound side, people think it's always about the money. It's never about the money. It's about the background dialogue that the seller either does or doesn't want to tell you about that doesn't have anything to do with the property itself. And too many people think they want to get the condition of the property. We're going to verify the condition of the property. We don't actually care what the condition of the property is, at least not initially. Now, obviously, we'd love everyone to say they have a perfect house that they want to sell at 50% of value and they want to sell it tomorrow. I mean, that's perfect, but I don't think we ever bump into that. So, really, the sense of the urgency isn't a property qualification condition. Too many people get that wrong. Oh, tell me about the bathroom. When's the last time you put a roof on? When's the last time you put a new HVAC in? None of that matters. Um, Tell me why you want to sell, and then dig into it, and then listen to the background dialogue that they're not telling you about. Build a relationship by you hear a dog bark in the background. Ask about the dog. Um, Ask about, whatever it is that they're not telling you, that they either want to tell you or don't want to tell you, that's going to be a key indicator of why they want to sell. That's where you're able to actually negotiate. Again, three pieces: volume, buy better, sell better. That's where you're going to be able to buy so much better than your competition.
Okay, yeah. So the cool thing, yeah, the reason behind it is sometimes they might not even know, right? Until you're actually talking to them, asking the questions, and you're digging in, and you're getting curious, and you're getting them curious too, and open minding to what it is. And Chris Voss in his book Never Split the Difference talks about the thing called the Black Swan. And the Black Swan is the one piece in the negotiation that, if you knew, it changes everything, right? And it's the black swan, meaning it's something that's unique and kind of in the background, like it's not something that's just on the forefront. So I like the way you say that. Tell me why you want to sell. And then you said a key thing, you start to observe and listen and really listen, right? And really try to observe and perhaps even ask even more detailed questions. Like Chris Voss puts it, he labels emotions. And I wonder what you think about this, TJ, where, hey, it sounds like, it feels like, it seems like, you know, whatever that emotion is around that, whatever that topic about selling or whatever it might be, and then be quiet and see what they say. It's not even asking questions, as more just making observations of what they're saying. Can you touch on that, TJ, if that's resonating?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't know if you project your expectations. Think of it this way, I guess, right? The reason like wholesaling or investors get a bad rap in the industry is because an average residential agent thinks that the only thing the seller wants to do is maximize their money. Now, as a investor, I mean that's our motivation, so that's true. But in the distressed field, it's not about maximizing their benefit, because what has a higher psychological impact than maximizing a positive? Well, that's easy. Is minimizing a negative. So, what's a negative on a house? What's a negative on a distressed house that you inherited that's stacked literally full of, well, my bookshelf's a little messy, but like the stacked full of stuff, right? I've walked through houses that were 4 feet of trash on the ground. What's their, is their thing maximizing their positive? No, it's minimizing their negative. Same thing with, airship house. What is, same thing with maybe a pre foreclosure type of lead. What's their, now, they might be a little bit in denial about their actual urgency, but really what they were trying to do is minimize their pain. Their pain is, I don't want to get foreclosed on and have lose all my equity and set the stuff, have the sheriff set the stuff on the curb in 2 months. I inherited a house with, 4 feet of trash in it, or maybe I'm living in a house with 4 feet of trash in it. I know I'm not going to maximize my actual economic, like ARV perspective. What do I want to do? I want to get out of it. I just don't want to deal with the stuff. So we listen to this background dialogue and the sellers tell us about it. And if it's so, there's always motivation, there's always urgency. If there's high urgency, like a pre foreclosure, and low motivation, then we'll approach that lead very different than if there's high urgency, excuse me, if there's high motivation and low urgency. So what I mean by that, pre foreclosure, high urgency, but potentially low motivation because they're pushing off their problems. Now, we can talk about the types of people that tend to do that. There's no judgment on that, but sometimes they need to be educated about, hey, no, you have an actual foreclosure coming up literally in 4 days. There's nothing else you can do except for sell to us or someone like us, and we know we can get it done, and here's why. So we'll take a harsher stance on that lead than someone who maybe inherited a house that again is full of stuff and they just don't want to deal with it. What they want to hear is, hey, you know what? Take what you want and leave what you don't. That's all they want to hear. Um, oh, you mean anything? Like, yeah, we don't care. Like, don't worry about it. Anything you want, take the gold bars, take the guns, take the cool stuff, take the silverware. We're not going to outline it for them, but leave, the milk jugs, leave the diapers. Oh, you'll do that for me? Yeah, that's the service we offer. Again, so, high motivation, low urgency versus low motivation, high urgency, I think I said that right, I'm not sure, is going to dictate a little bit about how we approach the lead and how we're able to negotiate with the prospect.
We're talking with TJ Kosen. It's Kosen. You can find him on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you can find him also at reiaf.com. That's reiaf.com. Cool. Well, we went into some sales and some psychology there. So I appreciate that, TJ, being able to adapt well. I imagine you do that a lot because you talk to a lot of people over the years. And so very, very cool. I want to shift a little bit into capital gains tax portion of the show. And then we'll talk about, we'll do like a lightning round. You ready?
Absolutely.
All right. So, what would you say your biggest frustration when it comes to the 1031 exchange as it pertains to exiting highly appreciated businesses, real estate, or other assets?
I think the identification timeline is probably the biggest hassle. We haven't done a ton of them, but we've done a handful of them, and it's always the identification and the ability to close on time, either from a sales on the previous property or on the acquisition on the upcoming property.
Yeah, we call that the shotgun wedding, right? Where you're running out of time and you have to buy a deal, and all of a sudden the seller has all the leverage, right? Because they know you're in
Mhm.
that 1031, and you may or may not have bought that property for a number of reasons, especially given where the interest rates are at right now, and the sellers maybe haven't adjusted their price expectations, and so you end up getting to a deal that may not make sense in a debt position that doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why we practice what's called the deferred sales trust with our clients, which gives them the opportunity to sell on terms with the trust, not having to finance the buyer, defer the tax, and then invest at what's called optimal timing, which is whenever you want, however you want, and with no timing restrictions, which is what our parents taught us to do, which is sell high and buy low. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, TJ, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, let's go.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you'd make sure to tell yourself to do?
Oh, let's see. Sell stop Bitcoin at 63. I think that's probably accurate. That'll just fix all your problems. If I like
Absolutely.
one sentence, right? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point. We did have a client who exited Bitcoin at 54,000 a coin. She bought it for about 50,000, went to 50 million. And then when it went to like 63, 65, 68, we're like, hey, you want to sell some more of that? And she's like, I think I'm gonna wait. She's working for Google, and she retired from Google. But long story short, at least she got out of 5 of the 50 million when it was at 54 coin. I'm working our way back up. We'll see where we go here in the next couple of years. But for those that are listening, you can exit. You can use the deferred sales trust for cryptocurrency as well, and then you can invest back into real estate, which is to us one of the best opportunities to build some wealth, especially if crypto runs high again. To get out when it makes sense and to invest back real estate. It's more predictable. Question, TJ, what is the number one book you've recommended or given the most in the past year?
Oh, jeez, I don't read much. I mean, except for entertainment. Now I don't read a lot of business books. My favorite book I'm reading right now actually is on a. It was probably the best day trader. I was maybe even position trader in the history of mankind. It's a biography on Jesse Livermore. He made a fortune in the crash of '39. He made a fortune in the crash in 1907, and then he was bankrupt by the mid early 40s and killed himself. It's an interesting book on the psychology of market swings and about how people adapt to market swings. Read a bunch of different business books, but the psychology books are so much more interesting to me.
Yeah, very, very well said. Cool. Next question. What are you most curious about right now?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. I think what occupies most of my like free time is my let's see, my daughter's 4, and we just built a backyard garden. I didn't know I was a gardener, and it's really fun and fulfilling to see her go out there and watch little things grow and develop. So that's I think that's what I'm actually most looking forward to.
Right on. I got a son who's 4.5, almost 5. So he's in a cool age like that too. Um, Second to last question. What's the number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Oh, I like the one by FDR and not FDR, by Teddy Roosevelt, and I can't quote it all because I had to memorize it in the fraternity back in college. But the man in the arena quote, where the critic's not the one that counts, the guy that's actually out there taking the punches and taking the swings that counts. I think that's probably my favorite business quote.
Yeah, so that's an all-time classic. What's the number one thing if you could accomplish in the next 6 months for your business that would make the biggest impact if that domino were to fall over?
For sure. So we sell a bunch of things on seller finance where we become the bank. Since we don't have infinite money, often we have to sell the note to recapitalize. So we're actually in the beginning stages of putting together a debt fund for warehousing a bunch of our note investments and cash flowing them, offering a good return to the investors, and making us a little bit of money too. So we're hoping to raise quite a few million bucks doing that. So far, positive feedback and a lot of money to attorneys. So if we can blow that up, it's going to be awesome. If we can't blow it up, we'll do it big enough to, get a taste of it and then figure out how to do it better next time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta jump right in, right? And by the way, you can use the DST to exit highly appreciated promissory notes too. So it's not
Mm,
just assets. And so we do like to see $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain. But we did a deal in Monterey and Cameron Park where they seller carried back some paper and then moved some of it into the trust, and then later on moved the rest of the note into the trust. And so it's a nice way to
nice.
defer tax. Um, Cool. Last question. After all your success, actually, I want to do one other one. It's kind of a bonus one. AI, Chat GPT, right?
Mm.
How are you using it? Are you using it? And what is your thoughts on helping on people using it to grow their business?
I think GPT is a good aggregator of online Google data through its lens. So what I mean by that is I don't think it's going to write War and Peace for you right off the bat. It might get to that stage eventually, but I think it's going to be a good way of inputting a topic and having it really streamline kind of a writing process. So we use it for marketing. We use it for I don't know, bullet point things for education or for just touching base with people. And then I think where people have the best opportunity of using it is kind of the same thing, is giving it guidance. Or the other way to do it is inputting a bunch of like stuff that you wrote and said, hey, summarize this and make it sound clearer for me. Whatever that might be, if you're not a writer. So I think it's a good editing software. I think it's a good directing software taking direction. And I think it's got huge potential in a lot of other fields that are I don't think the technology is quite there exactly yet for just like autopilotifying, but I think it's definitely a hugely useful tool in the business.
Right on. Last question. After all your help, after all your success and helping all the people you help, what's the number one way that you stay centered or habit that you practice to stay centered in your values, and then stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the spiritual aspect of life is very important. I think structured religion actually is a lot more important than a lot of people tend to think it is online. And I think having a comfortable understanding of where you are in your life and what your objectives are, I think is huge for family development, for business development, for personal development and growth. On the more physical side, I think staying physically active is very important. So working out, playing golf, bike riding. From San Diego, I used to surf a lot, used to kayak a lot, used to scuba dive a lot. Don't do that quite as much now living in Dallas, but I think those are the two biggest things that allow you to kind of be there for your kids down the road and develop your personal life to its fullest.
Cool. Right on. TJ, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us. I want to encourage you to keep using the gifts of, investing in others to help them achieve their full potential and have that fulfillment come and just drive you forward to help more and more people. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, could you remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
TJCozen.com is probably a fantastic place to find me. REIAF.com if you want some of the more businessy stuff. And then since I'm a pretty creative guy, TJ Cozen all over Facebook and Instagram. And I think, what do you call it? LinkedIn too. Yeah, I forgot I
Yeah.
had a LinkedIn. I don't like it as much as I should.
Right on, TJ. Thanks so much. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to an episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. We're also streaming Expert CRE Secrets podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the deferred sales trust is an amazing way for you to exit highly appreciated assets and are doing some wholetailing, wholesaling, getting into real estate, taking action, building a business, and like TJ's doing, building a team and helping people achieve their fullest potential on your team can bring a lot of fulfillment. So we encourage you to take action with what you've heard today. If you want or need an exit plan for your next highly appreciated asset, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. As well, you can check out our new book. We hit the number one seller for real estate and wealth categories are the two on Amazon. Pretty cool. You can check out the book. It's called Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan. That's on Amazon. Hey, we appreciate everyone out there. We